Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to this week's episode of Rivercity 93, your number one podcast for all things Richmond Kickers and also the Baby Joeys. I'm your host, as always, Elliot Barr, and is joining me is a man that shares my equal frustration with a certain North Carolina player, Rafa Mintigan. He's not my favorite player at all, and I hate the fact that he was on the bench. I feel like John Bradford knew that he was like, if we're gonna draw this game, I'm gonna make Kickers fans sweat and bring in Rafa. And it sucked. Matt, are you frozen?
No, I was waiting for you to finish your,
Oh.
meandering monologue about your love of Rafa Mintigan.
No,
I wasn't sure where you were going.
Oh, no. It's not a monologue. It's just pure hatred.
No, it's not. That's too toned down to be hatred. That's, just resignation. That's something else.
It's just
right there.
It's just annoyance, man. Because every time he plays against it, it's just like the dumbest of luck. From Chattanooga to North Carolina. He's a goddamn villain.
Don't forget, he was back in there in the Lansing days too, wasn't
he? Yeah, he was.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. Well, we got a lot to get into. And before we dive into all of that, let's once again, listeners, want to say thank you for listening to our show. If you haven't already, make sure you like, share, subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you share with a friend if you're listening via podcast. If you want to stay up to date with everything from the Richmond Kickers, the Baby Joeys, to the VOD, to the Ivy, make sure you go to rivercity93.com. And if you want to donate to the podcast, make sure you go to ko-fi.com/rivercity93 or rivercity93.com/donate. But Matt, let's talk about this game. 1-0 loss to North Carolina FC. The league was describing it as our preferred rival. I would debate that, given that there's a team in our group that's actually in our state who we're not playing because Jägermeister group stages makes no sense. We'll get into that a little bit later as well with my frustration with this league schedule. But Matt, I think it's fair to say the scoreline did not indicate how the Kickers played. I think if you look at the scoreline, you get one story, and then if you actually go back and watch the game, I feel like you will walk away with it with a different story. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that the Kickers could have gone out there with a tie. I also don't think it's a completely unfair result either. I think if you watch the whole of the game, it's not hard to see that a lot of the North Carolina guys were a little quicker, a little stronger, a little more talented all around, and they control the majority of the game, right? But Richmond certainly did a really good job of being organized, being patient, with their moments. And yeah, there were a few moments there that I know we'll get into where they could have, should have scored, been given the chance to score.
Yeah.
So yeah, like all around, this is going to sound insane given that we lost.
This is what we do in the show, Matt. We are insane people that talk about a third division.
Well, but I think that's almost as perfect result in the way that we got there as we could have hoped for with this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree. And I don't know if that's because my expectations going into this game were already low, because I wasn't expecting to win. So I felt like if we could get to a draw, like I felt like that was a win as well. So to come out on the side of it, 1-0 loss, 80th minute goal that if you go on North Carolina accounts, they try to troll us, but they did have a good video angle of the goal. It was nothing Pablo could do on that.
No, but overall, like a pretty good showing by the team, all things considered. Obviously, would have rather won. Would have been fun to see penalties, something like that. But again, kind of thinking about the big picture, I think this was kind of righting some of the wrongs we've seen in the last couple of games. Could have been crisper in the closer to goal. Yeah, of course. But hopefully some positive momentum to build into Texoma, and teams mathematically eliminated from winning the group now in the Jaeger Cup, so we can just punt those other two games because there's literally no way we can finish first and we were one goal through two games, not getting one of those wild cards either. So like we can give up the facade of going for it now.
Yeah.
So win-win.
Yeah, I think I was looking at the group stage. I think at the end of this match day, granted some teams didn't play yet, but I think only one team in League One was in second place out of their respective groups. Maybe another one's in there I'm forgetting about, but yeah, like I think we got Charlotte and Lexington next, and I'm fine giving some of the backups a little bit more minutes in these games and seeing how they do or whatever.
Yeah, and you know what? Let a couple of these League One teams advance and put another game or two onto their schedule, especially if those scheduled game times would be right before we're supposed to play them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go whoever it is.
Right. Yeah. Go ahead and burn yourself out. So, the way how Darren lined his team up with this, once again, I think we were all doing a little bit of rearranging because Falmouth definitely had Griffin Garnett as an attacking midfielder. We knew that was all wrong. So,
you saw the ESPN graphic, right?
No, I didn't see that. I saw the football graphic. What did the ESPN graphic say?
I mean, it was possibly wilder. Let me see if I can find it real fast.
Okay. So while Matt is doing that, I'm gonna give you the lineup. So we have Pablo Jara in goal, Griffin Garnett, Chella, and at the center backs, Fitch and Beckett out at fullback. You got a midfield trio of Dak, Vaughn, and Niels, and then you had Darwin, Maddie, and Kirkland up top. So there's I would say more or less patented 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, however you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Did you find it yet?
Loading.
Yeah,
but
loading.
yeah, I mean, mostly first choice lineup with except Pablo in for Sneddon, which Darren tends to do in these cup games, right? Okay, just loaded up. So it's got us in back line. According to them, is Howell, Chella, Vaughn, Fish. Not completely ridiculous.
Okay.
Then you got kind of the holding midfielders of Darwin and Niels, Bolduc, in kind of the hole, and then the positions where normally where they kind of put the wingers that look like they could be inside forwards, Dak and Griff up there, and then Kirkland way up top. So yeah, they saw Flop Mob. They're like, okay, we see your Griffin placement. We raise you.
We raise you. Look, hey, anything to raise that transfer fee, I'm what. Now, I don't want Griffin to play attacking mid. I don't want that. But if clubs actually don't want League One finish, it just go based off ESPN lineup graphics. Cool. That works. He can put it on his resume.
There we go.
Yeah. What was your thoughts on Darren's lineup, given that, we know Pablo's the cup keeper. Kirkland started up top again for the second game in a row, I believe. And
yeah, I mean, I think it's more notable for who wasn't there again. Once again, no Chandler. Once again, no Emmy. Anywhere to be seen in the team. I think Bill Hart, I'll believe he's back when he actually shows back up again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's I think the bigger takeaway of this. Otherwise, like we said, it's pretty much your standard team. Like maybe sometimes you see Guillen instead of one of the other center backs, but for the current group, seems to be a familiar lineup lately, especially since Beckett seems to have won some favor over Maxi recently.
Yeah. I guess we'll start off talking about the defensive line's performance again because if I had to give an award for like standout player, I know they gave it to James Vaughn. For me, actually, I'll give it to the center backs. I think they did a really good job of stuffing out some of the early fires that NCFC was trying to present with that quartet, uh, Dolabella, the other two attacking players they had.
It don't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Dolabella's the only one I remember. But I Matt, I know you're gonna joke with me about this, but I'm happy. We played a back five at moments. It wasn't a true back five. It was a back five when we needed it to be because we were like, we're not going to even try to play in the midfield. We are hoofing this out to the wings. We are having Dak drop into center back to allow Griffin Garnett and Clyde Echella to do what they do best and be physical and step up, and then allow Dak to be in the back to kind of clean up when need be. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit, based on how North Carolina wanted to, play too, the way guys were running. So keeping, Dak a little bit, you know, held back into the defense, firming things up there, relying on guys like Vaughn and Seifert to you know, kind of patrol the center of the midfield themselves,
Mhm.
too. Knowing that you have guys like that who are seasoned pros who can have that discipline, to be able to manage it. Is this something that I'd want to see in a normal League One game? No, because I would hope that we're not we're being pinned back like we were at
Yeah.
times. Like I mean, there were definitely 5-minute spells where it felt like never got the ball across midfield, which you know happens from time to time, especially in traditional cup games. I would hope other than like holding on to a late lead in a league game, we're never in that scenario where we got to go back to that strat again. But yeah, you know, it generally worked quite well.
Yeah. I think it's a nice addition that Darren pulled out for this game. Definitely, he caught, I would say, caught NCFC off wild for a moment because I'm pretty sure they watched tape. It was like, oh, we never really seen this. So I guess that adjustment time was nice to see. Also, Dak looked he looked very comfortable in doing that. I asked him post game about that, which if you haven't watched the post game, make sure you go over to our YouTube, watch it right after this. Talk to him about it, and he mentioned how it was really just sticking part of the game plan. Darren just told him like, "Hey, I need you to pretty much be a defensive shell. Like, clean up, make sure that when there's space, you're there to close the door." And I think Dak really thrives in that kind of role because, like, I mean, he started off as a center back here, so it's nothing for him to transition between the two seamlessly in between the game, going from center defensive mid to center back as well.
Yeah, and I know Darren's talked him up as a midfielder. I still think he's more of a true center back.
Hmm.
So I think being able to fall back into that role, a little bit, you know, plays to his natural tendencies. Like don't get me wrong, he's done a pretty good job in the midfield. Ever since late last season when he kind of
Yeah.
shifted up a little bit, but yeah, I mean, there's a reason we saw him play center back for so many years at first.
Yeah, that's my wife in the background. Yeah. So the other part to that is we finally have a healthy Griffin Garnett and Clyde Echella at center back as well, and I think that made a world of difference as well because I think this is the first time they've been in the lineups. I think since FC Naples together.
Maybe I'm not going to bother to go look that up real fast.
Yeah, you just believe us, folks. Just believe us. But yeah, having them back was definitely huge. Beckett Howe got another start. How do you think he did? I know he had a rough second half with goddamn rough minutes again. But yeah, how do you think he did getting his
Uh,
first
I
his
think
second start?
it's pretty similar to what I've been saying the last couple of weeks. Like on the defensive side, he's
Mhm.
solid. Uh, he on the ball, he got caught that one time, by Rafa, or I don't know if it was by Rafa anymore, if it was somebody else, and then the ball got fed into Rafa. But Pablo was you kind of had the nice bailout save with the ball just absolutely crushing his face
Yeah.
on that. So you know, way to go, Pablo. Way not to bail on that because I probably would have. I've been like, not worth
look,
it.
He 100% committed to the bit. He committed.
Yeah,
He committed.
I would have been like, nope, I'm good. But yeah, I think we saw when Maxey came in, later in the game, like the difference of what he brings, with that, attacking focus, being able to, get forward and add that, dynamic element and what he can be able to partner with Darwin to do, right up there. So it's a trade off when you have Beckett in there. Like he's going to give you the size, he's going to give you the physicality, he's going to give you the kind of pure defense, but it comes at the cost of getting up the field and providing the width and support to Darwin.
Yeah, that's true. Speaking about Pablo Jara, I don't think it's unfair to say this is his best performance in the Kickers jersey, and that's over. I want to say that's over the course of the last 2 years.
And probably, I'm trying to think of what else it might have been.
The sad thing is he still doesn't have a clean sheet in a Kickers jersey yet. And I was before the 80th minute, maybe like 75, 76. I was like, because he had that stretch between like maybe 55 and 64, where he also had the face save. He was just making incredible saves. Like he had one.
Yeah, he was on this game.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, if he can survive that stretch, I was like, Pablo might get his first clean sheet, and I'm gonna be, give credit where credit is due. Like he had his best performance.
Yeah, the only other one I could think of is maybe one of those Jaeger Cup games last year, because I think he won one of the penalty shootouts for us last year, because there's that time when Shello came into the team and Pablo went to be the cup keeper before the emergence sned in later in the year. So maybe one of those, but yeah, the overall point being that he took his opportunity and he performed well. I don't think the goal's on him in any way. Like unless he suddenly grew to be like 6'7", no way he's reaching that.
Nah, I don't think so. I did get asked also on Blue Sky was like, how do I compare his size to Pablo and Stenton? Because it was like Richmond loves a short goalkeeper. And I was like, sir, I'm a full offensive lineman. Like we're probably the same height, but like width wise, I'm bigger than both of them boys. Bigger than both of them.
Yeah, I think James comes across as smaller than he actually is.
Yeah,
like, I think he's a legit 6'1" or so, which it's not huge, but it's not tiny for a keeper either.
No. And we was talking about it in the U20 game, which we'll talk about later as well. But like players like, matter of fact, like Griffin Garnett, like I was interviewing him last night, and he looked like he just got taller. And that's the crazy thing. Like him, Beckett, Snedden, even Landon, they still haven't hit their adult bodies yet. So there's still like growth.
Yeah, that is kind of what happens with teenagers. Sometimes they keep growing, and that's much less, kind of fill out, what their like muscular frame is going to look like, in a couple years. So, yeah.
Hey, add another 5K to it. I think at this point I've added like 50,000 just unnecessary transfer fees to Griffin Garnett.
It's not unnecessary if somebody will do it.
Yeah, look. Speaking about that, like being on a phone call. Well, I'll talk about that.
Yeah, save that.
Yeah, save that. You'll hear that at the end. Back to the game. So, Pablo performed well. The midfield. How would you rate their performance in the game? Because granted, they didn't generate a lot. I'm trying to remember correctly. They didn't have the ball enough to have possession, so they really couldn't dictate the game. But how do you think they did overall in their performance? I'll just include Vaughn and Niels, because I say Dak was more defense in this game than midfield.
Here's a half and half.
Yeah.
I think they did what the job was called for, right? Yeah. Like this is not a game where we're going to be ball dominant. And anyway, I think that was a reasonable expectation going in, that okay, this is a game where we're going to see 30-35% of the ball. So how can we be able to maximize what we have? Okay, it's being able to let Bolduc, let Darwin run at their guys with the ball. That's probably our most optimal play, because they had some quality professionals there in the midfield with Summersall, with good old Richmond kickers legend Colin Martin in there, uh, who, if I'm remembering correctly, I think he might actually be the last kickers player to have actually scored a playoff goal for us.
You might be right on that.
No, I'm wrong because Delhi scored later that game. Never mind.
All right, never mind. Thought we had some history facts for you.
But yes, cool seeing him back all these years later. But yeah, I mean, you got seasoned professionals, in there who've been getting minutes at the championship level for years and years.
Yeah.
So we weren't going to do a lot of building, through the middle. So it was more preventative. Get the ball, work to distribute it out. But even then, both those guys were able to get good looks from the edge of the box. In the second half, James had one that required a really good save. From their keeper. Niels had one good hit, ended up going straight to the keeper, but he got good contact on it. Had a decent look, and I think each of those guys can get one or two of those chances a game. That's probably good value for us.
Yeah. That's what I feel like this game did call for this midfield. Like I think they did just enough. Like they didn't do. Well, yeah, they didn't go above and beyond. I put it like that. Like, and I don't think this game called for them to do that. I think like if Richmond was going to win this game, it was going to be relying on the forwards winning 1v1 and just taking like a very dangerous chance and making it a dangerous attempt. I think the midfield's role in this was just like pretty much make sure that their midfield doesn't overrun us. Because it seemed like NCFC just, like you said, like with those very technical veteran players, like they pretty much wanted to squeeze us in and, just create off the ball movement to try to open us up. And I think the midfield did a good job of at least eliminating that, not making it easy for NCFC just to do that.
Yeah, and limiting, because they still got some looks. Like that's going to happen in any game. Whether you're playing a better team or a worse team. Like nobody goes through a game with just zero chances.
Well, hey, if you're Vancouver, you can.
I mean, they literally made it to the final and knocked out Miami along the way. So I'm not really thinking throwing stones at them right now is the most sensible thing to do.
I just still find it unimaginable. Like I could understand not having a shot on goal, but no shots attempted. That was probably the wildest stat to me.
Yeah,
but yeah.
I mean, once you're down a little bit in the final, like also, 5-0 in the final. They're just thematic over the weekend. Yeah, so
I also find it hilarious that in the Champions League final, the ref. We'll talk about the ref because I know everyone was talking about that this weekend in our game. But the ref in the Champions final just blew the whistle, and like the 89th minute was like, "Yeah, we're not. Everyone go home. Go to your families."
Yeah. So. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I thought you were making another point. All right. So. Nope. So the forward line, and I think this is the part where Darren took some of the frustration from. I won't even say frustration. More so, he took we should have done better. I'll put it like that. The 1v1 opportunities that the kickers did create out of this because they were going along, they were looking to, get Darwin isolated, actually Kirkland to win headers, and Matt to get in behind. And you saw that work sometimes. Like Kirkland did a lot of thankless running in this game, like a lot of pressing. He knew like, okay, I'm not gonna just have squaring on opportunities to just like in the Westchester game, he probably wasn't gonna get those opportunities, but he did a lot of thankless like counter pressing where the kickers would go in long ball if they knew they weren't gonna win it. That would be their way of setting up the counter press and try to squeeze in NCFC on their side of the field. But yeah, like how do you rate the forwards line in this? Because I think they did well, but I'm a little bit more disappointed just because of some of the 1v1 opportunities or the opportunity we did create we weren't able to finish them, and it felt like if we were going to pull this off, we kind of needed to score first.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't for lack of effort,
Yeah,
right? Like those guys, seemed like they all but emptied the tank out there.
yeah,
Uh, it felt to me watching it that North Carolina had the plan of like, okay, when the kickers have the ball, let's funnel them to the right side, and you know, the ball made it over to Bolduc a lot. But
yeah,
it almost felt to me like they were comfortable with that, and were willing to take their chances. Bolduc up against Paco Craig, up against whoever it was playing left back, for him, and so he got in good positions. But once he got in close to the danger areas, they were able to neutralize him.
mhm,
Pretty much every time, either force him backwards, force him into a very speculative cross with nobody there, on the back end, or just what happened a lot of times, and not just to Bolduc, it happened, a lot on uh, crosses from Simon or corners from Niels or other crosses on the other
yeah,
side too, just getting cut out, at the very first man. Uh, so to me, that is a combination of quality of service, but also good scouting by North Carolina to know what they wanted to do and make us play right into that a lot of times.
yeah,
Uh, I agree with what you're saying about Kirkland. Uh, I know his kind of natural role is as center forward. Like right now, I still feel like he might be better suited out wide, where he can be able to use that speed and running a little bit more dynamically.
yeah.
I mean, ignore the fact that okay, who plays the center forward spot if that's the case. Uh, but I feel like playing through the middle where he's going to have at least one big boy, if not two big boys, right there, kind of flanking him. The way our team is structured right now doesn't feel like that's going to maximize what he's able to do and where he excels at the
Yeah.
moment.
It
And
felt like they had to they had to find a way how to replicate Chandler's headers. Like Chandler's winning the first ball, and it was just like, all right, we got Kirkland. Like if they, I'm
yeah,
pretty
he's not.
sure.
He's not. I don't think he's that guy, right?
Yeah,
Like I think can he improve, of course. Like but what I felt was missing and could have really helped in that game was the that Emmy ability to be able to, go gather the ball and draw the foul, to
mm,
let the team reset themselves, buy a little bit of time to take some of the pressure off the defense, and go from there. Like athletically, Kirkland's going to outdo Emmy every day of the week. We know that,
yeah,
yeah. But some of that, long term, kind of, professional, trickster element that Emmy has that, uh, you know, you can't necessarily rate in like a combine type environment. That can make a difference even if he's not showing up, on the stat sheet.
yeah. I call it old man at the YMCA. Like
Yeah.
they know their job and they know how to bait you into. I mean, look, we saw a prime example of it against Spokane. Like he know how to bait you in for a foul,
Yeah.
slow the game down, allow his team to get upfield, reset, make a set piece opportunity that can eventually either A turn into a goal or turn into a corner. You know,
Yeah.
so
And when we're not able to release a guy based off of speed, that's what you need, especially against a team when you're going to be kind of stuck in your own end most of the game.
yeah. So talked to Chandler
I,
after the game. He said he will be back next week.
so
So
50-50, which side of it are you taking? Will he be back next week or not?
oh yeah, hearing it from him now, if it came out of Darren's mouth, no. But hearing it from him, I'm like, okay, I believe it. I
Okay.
believe it.
So
Um,
something that I saw in the game that I was wondering about, what
yeah.
want to get your opinion. So mentioning the crosses, and they weren't
Mhm.
great, right?
No.
The corners especially. I was surprised that Niels was taking all of them, like especially on the right side when it's usually Maxi that would take them. I feel like Beckett took them a couple games ago, but then even when Maxi came in, Niels is still over there taking those, and they ended up becoming outswingers instead of some of those dangerous Maxi in swingers that we've seen.
Yeah, I think that goes back to what Darren was saying, like it's on him. Because I felt like it was a coach's thing of like, all right, we're giving Niels the crosses or the corner kick opportunities in this game. I think if you give Darren a redo at it, I think when Maxi enters the game, I think they allow Maxi to do it. Just because we see how dangerous Maxi is on those crosses opportunities. But yeah. I don't know. Like Niels crosses. This is gonna sound rude, but it's fine. They kind of remind me of like Christian Pulisic corners, where they don't really do anything. Like they're in the air, but they don't feel threatening at all. You know what I'm saying?
I'm sort of not entirely, but I think I get where you're trying to go with
Like
it.
they're not played. The ones I can remember, they're not played in a position where it's causing the defense or the goalkeeper to like panic or have any doubt about it. It felt like, okay, the ball's coming in, I can easily clear it and we can get out. It's not like a ball like we see maxi crosses where or corners where the ball's in swing and it's like there's a moment of panic in the defense because and this could also be like off the ball movement by the kickers. Like I didn't watch it too closely, so it could be one thing or the other. I'm not, I'm fine if this isn't correct, but it just felt like the corners weren't threatening because the ball movement wasn't threatening.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
So it
it's a
also
working theory.
it also could be partially like North Carolina got some big bodies back there to defend it,
Yeah,
and they were able to cut us out
yeah,
before.
some beefy boys back there, and I
Yeah.
felt. I mean, those beefy boys were definitely fouling, and this ref was cool with letting stuff go. Like,
Well, not always though. That's the thing.
yeah, no, it was weird because
You just want to get into him at this point.
yeah. Oh man. Well, yeah. Let's go ahead and get it because now, if you listen to Rivercity 93 long enough, we don't blame the ref because 9 times out of 10, back then the kickers weren't just winning, so there's no point of blaming the ref. I feel like in this game, the ref really did affect the outcome of this game because now you have the handball at the end of the half. I asked the pro ref that was there to evaluate the other ref his thought on it and why was he given a handball. And the explanation I got, I also put this on Blue Sky, the little video that I did. He pretty much said that because his arm wasn't in an unnatural position, so it's not like he lifted his arm out of his natural silhouette, or he stiffened his arm up to delay the movement of the ball, that it was too close to him and the ref deemed it as not a handball. Then you had another moment in the second half, I think in the 73rd minute, I think there was a tackle on the box, question on that one. And then the most definite one is when Andrew Richmond, who, by the way, shout out to his family. I met them at the U20 game. Lovely family of them. Got murdered. Got his welcome to the league moment in the box. And everyone decided to say, push it to the ref.
Yeah. So the handball one, I didn't have a great look at it from the other end of the field. I'm not going to pretend like I know if it really was or wasn't.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I don't even remember what the tackle one that you're talking about was. So I'm going to assume I probably didn't think anything really happened. I probably just assumed that's not really anything. The Richmond one, yeah. So this is like 2 minutes after they scored as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's Landon coming down the wing. Is able to get across, and Richmond's there at the back post. Whether he's actually going to be able to do anything with it or not sure.
Mm-hmm.
But man, the North Carolina defender, when I say comes through him, like
And I think it was Somersault in that too.
was it okay?
I
I
think
couldn't
so.
remember. Couldn't remember which one it was, but
Yeah, they only made.
he goes high in through him. It's like you remember. It had been probably like 15 years ago. Now Sports Center, or inside the NFL would have their jacked up segments.
Oh yeah,
This might have fit on that right there because the man goes up and through the shoulders and head of this minor. I mean, call Child Protective Services. This is assault on a minor, assault on a youth. Right here, and the ref's like, "What? Huh? We good?
Yeah,
Nah,
no,
we good."
no. It was. It's just so blatant of a foul by NCFC. Like, it's definitely that moment of panicking in the air and just be like, I need to get any body part on this to stop him, not the ball, stop him, Richmond. Because if I don't, this is going to be a goal. Like,
Maybe.
maybe. We don't know, but still, like,
Yeah.
it's just, and the ref was just, he didn't waste no time, no second thought, just automatically, no. But then it was so weird because any foul that happened in the midfield, he called. Like, I remember Richmond had a breakaway, and he called it back. And it was just like, you didn't have to call it back.
We'll get back to that one, but
yeah,
kind of focus on the not penalty piece too. Like, the play gets called dead pretty much right away because both guys fell hard. Richmond because he got absolutely trucked, and NCFC guy because he jumped up really high and landed weird because of that.
Yeah.
So the medics come out. Richmond's fine. The other guys, oh, I'm hurt, and get subbed out.
Right.
At that point, because he's a coward.
Well, we're also trying to avoid that card that was coming.
We'll get to that statement in a second too. But yeah, during that whole time, if you watched Dakota Barnathan, talking to the ref, I mean, you didn't need to be able to hear what he was saying to be able to fully understand, because that man was animated in the way that he was speaking. His hands like just at one point like throwing up a hand, just like how could he possibly think of this? Like what is going on? And just when he finally gives up and just really be like, I can't, like I give up. I can't even believe what's going on right here. And just imagine all the gestures that go with it in a way that he still didn't even get a yellow during all of that.
No, he did it. He did, and that was the thing too.
And you know why? Because the ref knew he was right.
Yeah, 100%. Dude was right. Also, if I'm not mistaken, I think this is the first game Darren got a yellow card in. 100% earned it. Like, I know Darren was seething.
Yeah.
Like, I know that fourth official's ear was burning on both sides from Darren and Bradford, because, like, now granted, Richmond did get away with some calls. Like,
the ref was just not suited for this game in the first place. Like,
no,
there are at least 2 different times where he blew the whistle. Nothing happened. Right, literally nothing happened, and he had to restart the game with a drop ball because I don't know what he thought happened or didn't happen, but nothing happened, and he had to restart with a drop ball. One of them, I think, was that kind of little bit of a break. The kickers got going, and there was a whistle there, and all right, well, oops, and NCFC was able to get reset in the meantime. It's like, come on, bro.
And then Richmond, the way how they were playing, they did leave themselves open a little bit in the midfield, and twice on 2 occasions. Now the Darwin one,
I don't think that was a yellow.
Yeah, it's a tactical foul. It's a foul, but it's not a yellow card. But it definitely delayed the game, and Richmond did kill out. The Griffin Garnett one, I thought NCFC was about to score on this, and that was 100% blatant. The ref was just like, went back and booked either one. He never went back and booked Griffin Garnett.
Right. So, kind of paint the picture a little bit. Don't know who it was on North Carolina. Again, don't care. He gets a step or 2 on Griffin, and then it's kind of a mini breakaway at that point. And Griffin knows and he does what we've been asking for him and other defenders to do in some of these scenarios lately, going all the way back to the playoff game against Omaha last year. He reaches out, he rugby tackles
he did,
man.
He dragged him down like full on hardest collar.
Wasn't even trying to be subtle about it. Right? Like, he knew what he was doing. He was, taking the yellow for the team right there. But it's actually a play on because Ginger Dude, for North Carolina had run onto the ball, so he slotted one-on-one against. It must have been against Chella at that point.
Yeah.
But the ball like never goes out, and it just never goes out, and the play keeps going. The play keeps going, and the ref seems to have just completely forgotten to go back and book Griffin for the most obvious yellow card you will
Yeah.
ever see.
Yeah, no. So I mean, Griffin got away with that one. That was just like, because that's the chance I thought like NCFC might have scored on, and the fact that didn't even get a yellow on that was kind of weird. So yeah, that's the
Or just wrong, or
yeah
bad refereeing.
all around, because isn't the fourth official supposed to remind the ref as well?
You would think, or the AR, or anyone on the crew.
Yeah.
I mean, there are other little ones like, thought, there were a couple times where he might have bought into some contact. Like I think when Beckett got his yellow early on, I was like, okay, maybe it's a foul, but the guy kind of made a meal of, you're like, oh, I got elbowed in the face or whatever. It's like, sure you did, bro.
Yeah. So I don't know. Not the best performance overall from the ref on that day. But another thing I wanted to mention before we wrap up this game, Richmond, when the play restarted, he got his foul back, and I 100% loved it for him.
James got a well-earned yellow card, shortly before that too, where the guy was dribbling kind of laterally across near midfield, and Ball was like, "No, you're not doing that anymore." And
Yeah, no.
I mean the best way to describe it is a good, proper, Englishman lower league tackle.
He got stuck in.
Yeah,
He got stuck in. Yeah, man. I mean, I'm not mad at it. I like what I see out of Richmond. It's a nice little footballer there. So yeah, so I think that's everything from this game. Anything else that we're missing before we move on?
I mean, regrettably, credit to the NCFC keeper Mall Queen. Like,
Yeah.
unfortunately, made a couple really good saves, including Darwin at late in stoppage time, where it looked like Darwin had picked out the corner and he was able to get fingertip to it and turn it around the post. He had a big one against James earlier in the half. Unfortunately, he looked good.
Yeah. And I mean, the goal, there's not really much to mention about it, but yeah, like there's nothing Pablo could do on it. I think Maxi was the one defending.
Dak,
Oh, it was Dak? Yeah.
yeah,
It just looked like a header that
it's
the
like
way
landed header off the back of the guy's head. Like
yeah,
I'm not 100% sure he knew a ton about it.
no.
Like he clearly was directed it, but I don't know if he. It wasn't like a pinpointed header. It was more of just kind of let me try to redirect and see what happens.
Yeah, and I don't think
And
there's anything that
unfortunately,
Dak
worked
nor
out.
Pablo can do on that one. So if that's the kind of goal that beats us, and Matt, your pretty much saying is sometimes a good goal just happens. And
Yeah.
that will happen there. So yeah, so the way how Richmond sits now, they sit at the bottom of the group. But it's not the end of the world. I mean, we still have Charlotte and we have Lexington. So we'll see how it goes there. But yeah, I mean, get back to the most important case, which is the league in which we play Texoma. But before we get to that, real quick, let's talk about the call that I was on. Well, I mean, we could talk about the particulars of it. You'll see a couple of clips coming up whenever I get those. I think I'll be getting those soon. But yeah, I was invited on a call Friday. Coach Mika was talking on a panel with FC Cologne and their scouting department and also U20. So actually one of their coaches was here as well. So from my understanding of it is that it's not an official partnership. So you're not going to see like media hype out there. Like the Kickers and FC Cologne are partnering together and they're sharing players. It's nothing like that. It's a working relationship, my best understanding, between FC Cologne and the Richmond Kickers, where the coaches will share ideas and then a select group, more or less the U20 kids, will be going over there to FC Cologne to train, get in a train environment, maybe a couple of pro players. Who knows? Fingers crossed. Griffin Garnett, James Denton. And maybe they didn't really make it clear or not, but maybe some FC Cologne players, like bottom, tier guys that can't really break through the top roster, might come over here, or the Richmond can use it to scouting because we saw like the likes of Nils come through. He played in Germany, so you figure he was part of that scouting trip as well. So that's my best understanding of it.
Yeah, you'll see these pop up around the country a lot, whether
Yeah.
it's a German team or Spanish team or Italian team or something, and usually it is more of just kind of a uh, like administrative side of things with being able to share you know scouting ideas, talent, and training,
Mhm.
concepts, because I think one thing that goes overlooked quite a bit is that the level of training facilities that even
Mhm.
close to our level here have are really, really impressive compared to worldwide standards,
Yeah.
right? So you might think, okay, well, we're you know playing at a 100-year-old stadium and everything, but uh, I mean, if you look around at I mean, don't look at like Champions League level teams or anything. Like obviously they have more money than they know what to do with, but you can get into second divisions, in big countries in Europe, and the level of some of these facilities that you see aren't anything that you write home about in any way.
Yeah.
So them being able to get some of the American ideas actually can be beneficial to them, and yeah, for a club like us, yeah, being able to get access to maybe some of their scouting for who their second team is playing, and seeing if there might be any guys floating around that level that might be interested in giving it a shot over here, and seeing if there's any viability with
Yeah.
that, and then yeah, maybe there's something with our guys going over there, or they might be able to help connect the kickers with realistically probably smaller clubs, because Cologne getting moved up to the Bundesliga next year. So I mean, love our guys. I don't know if that's going to be the right transition spot for them you know right away, but maybe it's getting you know some of their contacts from smaller clubs where it does
Yeah.
make sense for a young guy to go over there and find a club where they're going to be able to play right away.
Yeah. And so the two other things I took away from it were um I can't remember, I think his name is Simon. Yeah, his name's Simon. He talked about how the thing that he was most impressed with was how Richmond plays. Like he just assumed that it was going to be long ball. Like a lot of teams say, "Oh, we want to play, X, Y, and Z. We want to play with possession, all this other stuff." And then when you watch it on film, it's very like long ball and athleticism. And he was impressed with Richmond about how they play. Like they try to mix things up. You mix a long ball when it's appropriate. Try to play it on the field or on the turf when it's appropriate as well. So he was impressed by that, and then he was also impressed by the level of the kickers player that came over there in their development. Now, it's not like they were the standout players or anything like that, but he was just impressed about how they were able to stand their own in some of these training sessions with the FC Cologne players. And I think that's big as well, because you do have those misconceptions sometimes about American players, and to see that the kickers were able to hold their own is, I think, a key thing. So yeah, so like the best way how to think about this partnership is that FC Cologne, granted, they get a little small, is their entryway into the American market through us. And then on the flip side, Richmond, this is their way into a market that can potentially scout players and also use for developmental of ideas. So yeah. So maybe like 70-30 is more beneficial to us than FC Cologne. But I mean, hey, when you partner with a big Bundesliga club, I ain't gonna fight against it.
Nope.
All right, so that was that. And then yesterday you had the U20s play. Ooh, my bad. They played Wake FC in the USL Academy, won 6-1. So, Matt was talking about it before the show. You can definitely tell what players are of the pro environment because they stood out the most, like Bosniak, Richmond, Sarantakos, and I think there's one more. Oh, Gomez. like they stood out. Everyone else kind of looked like they're at that level where it's like, okay, I can kind of see, you were a 20. But they look well. Taco's got a what do you call when someone score 4 goals in the game? Is that a hat trick?
Good.
Yeah, well, obviously.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, he scored 4 goals. Even so much so today he announced his commitment to High Point University. So we know the success rate they have with developing attackers for us. Well, is fair? Is it fair to say it's kind of like we have one really good one and then one subpar one?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, Bolaños showed out. Yeah, Pineda flamed out.
Yeah. Actually, I know you're not really caring about this, but Pineda's playing for Hickory Football Club, and I think they lead their division in USL League 2. I gotta go back and check, but he seemed to be playing down there. Like he's back home getting a lot of minutes. So
All right. The other question is, because we know how Darren feels about the college game. Is does he make it there? Does Richmond make it to Georgetown where he's committed? Does uh Dubzeniak end up at VCU?
yeah. My bad.
So
That's that
I mean,
coffee.
they're able to keep Griffin away from University of Washington. Uh,
Yeah.
so but I mean, if you're Andrew Richmond, like it's got to be hard, hard one to be able to say no to getting into a place like Georgetown and you know kind of being set there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's obviously if you ask Darren, he would want to keep all of them, right? Like, you know, it would make it easier just to keep them. I think, and I kind of rely on this now because it makes a lot of sense the way how Darren described it. Or was it? It was Darren or Mika, one of the two. But regardless, the way how they described it makes a lot of sense. That essentially is in the hands of the player. If the
Yeah,
player wants to be a pro, they can sign that pro deal. Like it's there. Like if they're part of the first, this is if they're part of the first team. If they're in between, they could go with the academy contract, so it doesn't stunt their college eligibility if it doesn't work out for them in the summer. And then if they don't see a clear path to the first team, and they feel as if okay, I could go to college, develop a little bit more, and
and then
then
reevaluate. Yeah,
reevaluate after my 4 years, then they go that route. So I think like perfect examples of this. Landon and Griffin. Oh, my fault. Nah. Landon and Beckett, right? Signed pro deals. It wasn't really qualms about the academy contract. Signed pro, they wanted to be in that environment, they want to play. The academy contract and then going the pro route, I think are like think Griffin Garnett, James Stenton, right? Had college as a backup if it didn't work out, but knew that okay, I could play pro. And then for those who had an academy deal and then went to college, think like Gabe Cox. There's one more in there. I'm trying to think.
there was Noah from last year. There was
Yeah,
Eli
Noah.
Mumford from a
Yeah,
couple years ago.
Specs. But yeah, also real quick. I'm sorry, I got excited. We have another Specs on the team. The backup goalkeeper wears shades, and I'm desperately waiting for him to get in the game for the U20s. But yeah, we got another Specs. But I mean, yeah. So like, those are the pathways for U20 players in the team, and it really just depends on what the player is. So like, obviously remove Gomez from this because he's here on a different circumstance, right? But like someone like Saren Tacos, if it's not a clear path for him in the first team, or is he feel as if okay, I can develop a little bit more in college, play a year or two, then reevaluate. He's on the academy deal, but like someone uh like Richmond, right? Richmond is someone who might think long and hard about signing a pro deal. He might actually give it consideration because there is a way for him into the first team and playing meaningful minutes.
Yeah, I mean it's a tough one,
Yeah.
for these guys. I mean, great position to be in potentially. Uh, so we got time to be able to see how it plays out for some of these guys because I think Richmond does graduate high school till next year. So we'll see where it goes. We'll see where it goes.
I meant to ask him, and I do wonder this now because he goes to a local high school here. I'm not going to put out which one because that's weird. But
if you really want to know, it's not the hardest thing to find out online.
Yeah, no. But I wonder if he's playing with us. Does he play high school soccer?
No, I'm pretty sure guys who play for the academy aren't like, and this goes like most academies are not allowed to play high school.
Okay, so I was wondering that.
I might be wrong. It might have changed, but I know for a long time that was the case. So
yeah,
which makes sense, right? Because they're training 4 or 5 days a week. Like, when would you have time?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Just he'd be the best one out there, which would be like I still go back to seeing Nick Simmons last year play for the U20s, and they purposely put him in midfield because there was like, if we play you as striker, you're gonna get a hat trick like every game. Like you are just physically dominant. So moving on for that. Also shout out to all the military vets out there. It was a military appreciation night for the kickers as well. So thank you for all those for those service and everything like that. Also, happy Pride Month to Henry, and especially Henry and Banana. We'll celebrate Juneteenth when June 19th comes around. I'll definitely celebrate that day for myself. Let's preview Texoma. So the team in the area of Texas and Oklahoma that I do not think exist. Pick a side. You cannot be Texas or Oklahoma. Choose one.
Can't make me.
How do we rate them at? Because starting the year off, they were statistically and just I view the worst team ever in USL League One. Recently, they have changed things around. They got in some surprise wins over Greenville, Union Omaha. They did not play a Jägermeister game, which this is the point I was going to make. I'm really frustrated about how the schedule is done just overall, because from my understanding, this is supposed to be Jaeger Cup weekend. I do not understand why certain teams are just having random breaks. We're supposed to be playing Jaeger Cup.
Yeah, I can understand for a couple teams because there's some of the groups that have 7 teams in them.
Yeah.
But I don't think there were only 2 teams off. I feel like there were like 6 or 7 teams off.
All in the same group.
Yeah, that makes no sense to me then.
Right, because they all could have played. Like San Antonio this weekend played a preseason, mid-season friendly match against Las Palmas, who just got relegated, but like Texoma didn't play anyone, and they get an extra week of rest before they play us. I'm not using that excuse. It's just annoying because like Richmond has played essentially every week, and almost every team that we played has had a break somewhere. It's just annoying.
It obviously evens out later on, but
yeah.
It also just makes we've beaten this point to death already. It makes the standings almost useless right now.
Yeah.
But Texoma's been a little bit of a mini here recently, so it's not the kind of walkover that it might have looked like it would have been a month ago. I mean, obviously, early June, there's no such thing as a must-win game, but it kind of feels like one where if you want to be able to build the spirits back up of the team, of the fans, be able to build up a little bit more of that cushion for when teams are cashing in those games in hand. One that you kind of need to win.
Yeah, I think so. I would definitely walk in this game a little bit more confident. Now, like for everything I loved about Darren's tactical identity in this North Carolina game of using Dak as like that supplemental center back and whatnot. You made a great point earlier of like you don't really need to do that in this game because assuming the kicker is going to have a lot more possession of the ball and dangerous chances, so you don't want to necessarily limit yourself in this. And assuming that we get Chandler back, I'm not going to put Bill Hart in it until I see him in a kicker's jersey starting. So it might be Maddie, Emmy, maybe, or Kirkland out on the wing.
Who
Darwin,
knows? Yeah.
yeah. Vaughn, Niels, Gee, Chella, and Bitch and the boys. Like Texoma's gonna play it like this. Like they're gonna play a back five. They're gonna have Salman Asante up front, and like I kind of want us to pull the it's that era of like 2020 to like 2023 of how Tormenta played Richmond of like just beat up Terzaghi. Like just do that to Salman Asante and see if he can hold up.
Yeah,
Not
I mean,
like
just
physically, but like, make it
but maybe.
yeah, like don't make it easy for him just to because I mean, granted, he doesn't have the pace anymore, but like, this guy was a golden boot winner in the USA Championship. He has the ability to score out of nowhere. So like snuff those chances out early and put Texoma under pressure.
Yeah, because they're a team that just leaked a lot of goals
Yeah.
this year, so they can be had.
Yeah, their center backs aren't necessarily great. I do think they have one standout player in what's his name? How am I mess his name up?
Spangler.
Spangler. But outside of that, like not a lot of people on the Texoma team threaten me. Like, and I watch this team. I watch this team. They don't, they're gonna send in that back five. They're gonna look to soak up a lot of pressure, almost like Chattanooga. And it's just about can Richmond be dangerous in the final third and take care of their opportunities and be smart on defense.
Yeah, yeah. Again, it's not necessarily a must win, but I think this is the kind of game where if you want to show that you're, playoff, contender, possibly a outside, contender, for hosting a playoff game, that you have to get 3 points,
Yeah, I agree with that.
and much less because right after this, degree of difficulty is going to shoot up a little bit because next three are Knoxville away, Spokane home, Omaha away. Knoxville and Spokane have both shown to be really, really good so far, and I'll believe that Omaha is bad this year when they start playing at home and dropping games there. They've played a lot of away games so far, and I feel like it's every year kind of a little bit of a tease of, oh no, we're finally falling apart, guys. JK, we're gonna run over y'all.
I'm just already preparing myself for Union Omaha to open up their little piggy bank and go out here and get like a no-name League Two French player who's gonna absolutely rip the league to shreds and go on like a 13-game heater. Like I'm just preparing myself for it because he do it every year.
Yeah, so all the more reason why we want to make sure we're cashing what should be the easy points where we get them.
Yeah. So game is Saturday, 7 p.m. So now I think we're rolling into those 7 p.m. kickoffs. So no longer 7 p.m. I don't know what the temperature is going to be like. I'm assuming it's going to be a lot warmer than what it was this past Saturday as well. So yeah,
safe. I mean, we're into June now, so
yeah.
I
I
assume
thought
warm.
May was going to do that, but May was still kind of weird. So whatever. So yeah, so look forward to that game. I'll be there. Matt will be there. So yeah. Is there anything else I am forgetting? No, I don't think I am.
So.
I don't think so. Oh yeah, before we get out of here, Matt, give me your grade on May. So obviously, unfortunately, the Kickers did not pick up a win in the month of May, but 3 draws. We saw a high scoring game against Greenville, high scoring against Westchester. Chattanooga was a draw there, and then drop points against Spokane, and then also Jaeger Cup game here. So if you want to say maybe 3 games that should have been wins, obviously one of those were weather, but
yeah,
well, not 3 wins, maybe 2 wins and
gut
one
instinct
that
says C-.
Yeah, I agree with that. I could go with that. I think the Spokane game kind of still weighs on me a lot, just given how there was no threat of attacking this game, but 4 out of the 5 games we saw some of that come back to life.
Yeah,
It's just missing.
They kind of tossed away the Greenville game. You could have had that. So
Yeah. So yeah, not the best month for the Kickers, but one of which we saw some positives, some negatives, and some questionable referee decisions. But with all that being said, folks, we just want to say thank you once again for taking the time out of your day for listening to River City 93. Once again, if you want to interact with the show, feel free to send us an email, 93rivercity@gmail.com, or through Instagram. You can follow us, River City 93 Blue Sky, same as that. If you want to donate to the show, it goes to production costs of River City 93 and the Vinecast, who you should be listening to them because they have all the great insight on the Ivy, the only place where you can listen to consistent coverage on the Ivy, who we love dearly. You can go to rivercity93.com/donate or ko-fi.com/rivercity93. So for Matt and for myself, we will holler at you guys next time where hopefully we are talking about a dominant Richmond Kickers performance. Chandler Dwyer comes back and scores a hat trick. That's the hope. So yeah, we'll holler at you guys next week. Be easy and be safe as always.